Okay, so now we're in the third video. I'm going to go over my plugins today. Okay, so we have render settings, which basically it allows you to change the settings. So here you see we've gone to the lowest one, and it's removed shadows and everything. And then as you go up the levels, it becomes better. Hold on, let's see. Yeah, see here you get the light. Here you sort of get a shadow, but you have to be really close to see it. And then over here you actually get the shadow and it becomes better. And then client graphics, you don't really need to worry about that. I think that's when you go into test, it changes. But usually I just leave this to, that. You can also do an FPS cap, so if you want to make your screen super laggy, you can do that. You can also give it like a little bit of FPS, low FPS, and so on and so forth. But I usually just keep this disabled. Okay, so we're done with that. I'll go over curve cutter in a moment. Part to terrain basically does this. Let's go for settings and delete part when converter. Let's uncheck that. And let's go to grass, let's say. And this will turn this entire area into grass. If we want to turn it into sandstone, we can turn it into sandstone. If you want to turn it into slate, we can do that. And you can make it vertical or sloped or any way you want. It doesn't matter. But that's basically how it works. What we'll do for now to make it a little pretty is we'll do that, and then we'll go over to this part and delete it. Okay, so we've gone over terrain. Now reflect, what this does is, like, let's select these two parts, for example. I'm going to use this when I explain this plugin next video. But basically, reflect, if you hit reflect, let's say, it'll reflect these two parts. So you see the black ends up on the other side and the white ends up on this side. Instead of like duplicating it, and you see that it's the same, so you can reflect these. You, however, cannot reflect mesh parts or unions. Look up what a union is and a mesh part, and I'm sure you'll understand. If not, I'll sort of explain it later when I use the curve cutter. Now right here, we have utility plugin. I don't really use anything here except the welds and the little sun movers. So here we have the sun mover, and if you click that, you can move the sun around to whatever you want. So this is like, so if you don't want to go over here to lighting and be messing around with the clock time, geographical attitude, and altitude and whatnot, messing around with it for minutes trying to get it to the perfect place, you can just move it around like so, to wherever you want. You can make it sundown or whatever. And so that's really useful. So if you just want to get it out of the way and you don't want to be messing with it for a whole bunch, and I love this plugin. Really quickly, I'll show you what a weld does. Okay, so we went to anchored parts. And so this is an unanchored part, as we know. If we run the game, you'll see that it falls down like the last video, and the anchored part doesn't until you don't anchor it. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take two parts, and normally when you drop two anchored parts, it'll do this, and like so. And then we also go to grouping. Right here, let's quickly group this. Grouping is just so you can put two parts together, and so you can select them all at once when you select one of them. I'll explain that a little later. But so yeah, so one could say, okay, well, why don't you just group it? Well, it'll give the same outcome because they're just grouped. They don't have the same physical properties, or they don't stay in the same place as each other. Okay, so let's ungroup these. Well, actually, no, let's keep them grouped. Actually, no, we don't need to, but you can do the same thing when they're grouped. Okay, so they're both unanchored, and you can union these actually, and what unioning does is it puts them both together. But let's say you don't want to union them. Let's say they're like a truss part over here, which cannot be unioned. This truss part, you can't union it. So like, actually, let's do it with that. It'll work with both, either or, tomato, whatever. But let's go over here, let's get the truss part, and let's, color them to green. Or if green isn't your favorite color, let's go to blue. And let's unanchor these. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to go over to this plugin, we're going to go here, and we're going to go to weld. And we're going to hit this button. If it's in a group and you want to weld, say, if it's in a group and you want to say put this part as the primary part where all the welds are going to go to, then you can do that. If you want to weld a whole model to itself, you can also do that by selecting the model and weld it to itself. But here we have 2 parts out of a group, and we're just going to weld both of them together. You can set a new name for the weld. I usually don't, and I weld it. Okay, so now you see weld here. You can also do welds manually, but it takes a lot longer. It's easier to use a plugin. So you have part 0 and part 1. And so what happens is that when you run the game, as suspected, they're welded together. However, though, in this mode, if you do move this part around, it's not going to stay together. Actually, the weld is going to delete itself. But you sort of see my meaning here. As so. So, actually, hold on. I'm actually quite curious. Just to sort of show off. I think something will work. Let's just move this here. Okay, that didn't work. Let's move this here. Okay, so it moves both of them. Oh yeah, see that? Look, it moves both of them if you try to move them. Okay, so let's move this, and let's just sort of do this. Okay, so let's run this really quick. Let's see if it does what I want it to. No, sort of. I wanted it to hang off, but it's fine. All right, so we'll delete these. We'll delete these 2. Those are unnecessary now. Okay, so we'll go to camera light. Okay, so the reason this part is here is, say you're working in a dark area. Normally, most people, what they do is they get a part, bring it over here, they move it over to where they are, and they insert an object, and they insert a point light. And they crank up the intensity to it. Well, that's too bright. They crank up the intensity, and they try to make a whole light here, and they bring it over here wherever they're working. And some people, they forget about them because they put a bunch of lights, and then their game is super bright. Here, you can just hit camera light. And if you want to increase the intensity of this, you just find light in the workspace, and you make it brighter. And this moves with you as you move around the workspace, and it's good. Okay, so then over here you have toggle handles. What this does is, if I go to Toolbox, and if I go to my own models, my own builds that I've made myself, let's import this, right? Okay, so this is a quick little temple, okay? So then if we take this part, and we go to Toggle GUI, which is better, you can also have the handles, but I prefer, this. And I put antifreeze and all this, so this way my studio doesn't crash when I'm resizing a part, and I don't have to redo everything all over again. But let's say you want to make something smaller. Actually, let's first duplicate these by hitting Control D, and let's make this super small. And so you can make it smaller. So actually, essentially what you could do is, if you wanted to make like a little miniature thing, a little miniature model, like little city or whatever, you could do this. And you can just keep on going with this until it's super small and until it does that. Or what you could do is you could do this. You could do 150 and you can size it up. So you can make something super small and size it up. Although I must warn, the collisions won't really be correct. They won't be right. So here you have a cylinder, or what used to be a cylinder, but it has these grooves in it. But right now this has a cylinder collision. But what'll happen is when you updo it, the collision sort of goes haywire. Sort of like when you scale down a big model to a small model. The collisions is going to be really wacky. And you're going to have probably a collision that sticks out all the way to here and then goes that way. So scaling up, if you do it, I would say remake the collisions. So basically what you would do is you would make all these parts non-collide, and then you would get another brick here, and you would put it over these parts to create your own collisions. I'll show that in another video, so you sort of know what I'm talking about, but there you go, you have scaling. Okay, so plugins, we'll go to Light Toggle. Okay, so basically what Light Toggle is it's actually a very useful plugin, but By the way, this isn't sped up footage. I'm actually just talking faster. Okay, so let's go to shadows. You don't need to have that on, but let's have this on so you sort of see the light. And let's do that. And then let's move this over here. And let's color this original one to red. And then what we'll do is we'll duplicate this. And we'll move this to here. And then we'll color it to blue. Okay, so then what light toggle does is normally people, when they have like a grouped model or anything, they go through the entire model to find the light. And I've done it numerous times. But light toggle removes that. Basically what it does is it gives you a little thing on your screen where you can see the light. And it also allows you to move the light as well by clicking that little move arrow. But if you just click the color, it automatically selects the color. So then now you can select the color, and it also changes as well. So you no longer have to go through the model and find everything. And then you can also see wherever a light source is. So because it'll show these little, things, these little circles. They were square before, but I guess it depends on the light you have. So like, let's check that real quick. If you have a spotlight, it'll change shapes. So it'll also tell you what type of light it is. Okay, so then we'll go to, well, actually we'll skip this plugin. This is sort of, it's not really outdated, but it's triangle terrain. Smooth terrain is sort of the new thing, and it looks better. So I'm not going to bother teaching you triangle terrain. But if you want to, I'll link the thing anyway in the description. I'll put it down as triangle terrain, and you can sort of learn that on your own. It's not that, it's actually made to be simple, which is actually better. Now here we have the rig builder and animation editor. That's to make animations through Roblox. That I can't show you. I know how to do it, but I'm not a professional at it. I'm a professional at building, not animating. So I'm not going to show you how to animate, but if you want to, there's other videos to teach you how to do that. So I think it's come to the end of the video. However, real quick, I want to see if my manage plugins works. It didn't load the last video, or the video before, and I don't think it'll load this video. No, it doesn't seem to. It doesn't seem to want to load. But basically here, what you would do is, let me see if I can find a suitable window. Yeah, whatever, this will have to do. Okay. So basically what you'll do is you'll see a screen similar to this. You'll see a library, and it'll bring you to this, and it'll bring you to plugins. Well, actually, no. It'll bring you to a different screen showing off all your plugins. But what it'll do is it'll list your plugins, and up here on the top right, it'll say Find Plugins. And when you click Find Plugins, it'll take you to this screen. And basically what you do is, you can also do this through browser. They added it in a couple updates ago. But you can find whatever plugin you want to use, like waterfall generator, let's say. And you can install it onto Roblox Studio. By the way, here's Light Editor. And so you can just install it. And there you go. And it'll appear in your plugins list. I think now you don't have to restart Studio. You just have to, real quick, let me select that. Over here, it'll just appear. So that's about it. The next video is going to be going over, real quickly, one moment. I forgot Curve Cutter. Okay, so what Curve Cutter is, and like I was going to say, the next video is going to go over this plugin. But let's get Curve Cutter, and let's say we want to make a shape, a custom shape. Okay, so then we get Curve Cutter, and we select a plane. I'll undo that so you can see. You can select a plane, whatever side, and we'll do up and down for now. And if you want to get super precise, do what I did in the first video, and change this to 5 or whatever if you want to be really zoomed in and precise. And then you can also select this so you can be more precise as well. Okay, so what we'll do here is we'll set this back to 70. Oh shit. Excuse my language. Okay, so anyway, I'm gonna take off snap to start, but basically what it is, and you don't really need a minimum angle. That's really if you don't want to go beneath a certain angle. But I'm pretty sure most people, they want to be as they want to have as much freedom to make whatever shape they want as possible. So I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna use that. So here you have the difference between hold to draw. So you can do something like this and end it or hit enter, and there you go. But let's delete these and let's select, and I'll do hold to draw. I won't do hold to draw. And so here I can make a shape, and there we go. Okay, so then what I'll do is I'll take out curve cutter, and so here we have a shape, and you think, well, golly, Builder Owl, how will I, make this into a shape that does nothing? Here's where unioning and negating comes into play. Okay, so earlier we unioned a part, or actually no, in the last video I unioned a part, or was it this video? I don't know. I think I'm having short-term memory loss. Anyway, we're going to ungroup this, and we're going to make it negated, and then we're going to select this part, and we're going to union it. And there you go. And now you have your own custom shape. Now what I meant by earlier is that you can't reflect unions. Is see here it's going to union it, sort of, but I don't know how to explain it. Okay, so let me see if I can get it to work. Usually I can, other times I can't. But see, here, it only works on some models, and you have to be really, okay, so basically what it's doing is it's not actually reflecting it. What it's doing is it's turning, right now what it's doing to the union is it's turning it like this. And so it looks like it's been reflected, but it's actually not. If you go into a more complicated union, you're going to notice that it doesn't go. I don't know how further to explain that. Let's see. Oh, yes, actually, that's a great idea. Hold on. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to resize this part real quick, just so I can show you what I mean. And we're going to rotate this part by 45 degrees, and then this way. And then we're going to move it like this. Actually, this is a little sneak peek to what this plugin can do. And we're going to cut it right here. It doesn't have to be perfect, but whatever. We're going to union this, so it's straight. And there you go. Now you have a cut, and it doesn't look beautiful, but whatever. And what we're going to do is we're going to hit reflect. And you'll see that it doesn't reflect to the other side. So it can't reflect meshes or unions. The only reason it was able to sort of reflect that one is because, well, it turned it onto its other side. And so that's basically it for this video. The next video is going to go over this sucker, although I'm going to go get something to drink and not start off where I did on the other videos. Sorry, I just got out of surgery like a few days ago, and I've been recovering. So if I seem a little off, that's because I'm a little off. Alright, so thank you, and see you in the next one.